Om Brahmanandam Paramasagadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigulahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Krishnaya Govindaya Gopi Janavallabhaya Swaha. So, please understand that the next 7 days is not going to be, can you hear me at the back? A philosophical discussion or a discussion on yoga or intellectual acrobatics, none of these things. So make sure that you really want to listen to this. This is going to be a thing of the heart, not a thing of the brain. Now this is not new. Even the greatest teachings of Vedanta say, where is the mic? I can't speak like this. This is better? Can you still hear me? Yes. Right. No echo? There is a little bit. I can hear it. Anyway. Can you push this in? This is the first time I'm using a gadget like this, you know. Usually we stick to microphones and anyway. So, what did I say? Even the highest of Vedantic teaching, it's a little uncomfortable for me. I can feel a little, can you reduce the volume some? Or echo, something is happening. Now, better. So, since we are going to sit for 7 days, I want to make sure that I give you something and not cause irritation to your ears. So the greatest of Vedantic teachings have declared that certain things, let's call them, as you say, worldly matters, God matters, spiritual matters, which cannot be discussed through plus, minus equations, things like that. It's beyond the capacity of the intellect to understand this, and all the intellectual work done in Vedanta is to make one understand that it is so. That what you're looking at is something which you cannot put in a test tube, that you cannot take up and analyze and say, is this long or short, or you know what I mean. It's a matter of the heart, not a matter of the brain. So, we should understand this first. Even the mind, to a great extent, cannot touch it. It is touched when the mind has disappeared. And the more intellectually we try to grasp, the more the mind gets stronger, and that's it, finished. You don't touch it. The greatest teacher of Advaita Vedanta, Adi Shankaracharya, after writing commentaries on the Brahma Sutras and Upanishads and Saundarya Lahari and so on, finally said, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, sing the name of Govinda, you fool. I'm not saying, he said, Samprapte sannihite kale, your time is coming up very fast. When you disappear from this earth, one foot is already in the grave from the time we are born. So chant the name of Govinda. So if a great Advaitic teacher can go to that extent, what about ordinary mortals like us? We should understand the fact that this is something which can only be touched by the heart. You can use your intellect to understand this, that's it. So, the Bhagavata Saptah is called Saptaha because it takes 7 days. We have discovered a Vanara also here, sitting on the stool. You know what's a Vanara? Monkey. They all used to listen to the Ramayana, I guess. So, the Bhagavad is usually recited for 7 days, and there are many versions of the Bhagavad. I am sticking to the original accent, which is a little bit edited by somebody to make it easier to read. This is what I am following, Padma Subramaniam's. There are many versions of the Bhagavad, but the content is more or less the same. And in Kerala, we have a Bhagavatam called the Narayaniyam, written by Melpattur Narayana Bhattadripad, which is also the Bhagavad, but in Sanskrit in the form of a song. What we are doing is the the Bhagavad as normally taught, not the Narayaniyam. So today and tomorrow and the day after, for the next 7 days, we are not discussing how to reach other planets. We are not discussing how to contact other intellects. We are not discussing how to practice yoga and attain siddhis and fly in the air. We are barely discussing a story which is intended to bring about a change in your mind, which often stories do more than prose, more than essays and theses. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying put your intelligence in the cold storage. No, that's not what I'm saying. Use your intelligence, but the most intelligent person very soon understands the limitations of the intellect. Right? With this, we can start. Anything else I wanted to say? No. We'll enjoy it. Now for me, Bhagavad is wonderful because I'm only the sutta, the storyteller. And how Bhagavad came to be written about, that also you'll understand as we read along. The author is none other than the great Veda Vyasa, who compiled the Vedas into 4, Rig, Yajur, Samaveda, who is also considered the author of the Brahma Sutras, which are the highest levels of philosophy known in our country at least. Same Vyasa wrote the Bhagavatam. Right. I'm trying, this is the first day, so I'm trying to adjust. Also trying to see if I need glasses. Do I look like a grandfather now? I am, actually. Naimi Sharanya. Unfortunately, if you have glasses, when I talk to you, I have to look like this. The first chapter is titled Naimi Sharanya. He we'll find out who. He was walking fast towards the southern slopes of the Himachal, of the Himalayas. Tell me in the last row if it's clear, if any problem, because once we start, I don't want to fix anything. Okay. He was walking fast towards the southern slopes of the Himalayas. He was alone. He scanned the distance and discerned that there was a thin spiral of smoke snaking its way up to the sky. This man, coming from the Himalayas, looking out at the horizon, saw that somewhere there was smoke coming up, which means human habitation. The spot was not far away. His footsteps were now faster, and soon he arrived at a cluster of thatched roofs. He had arrived at the place famous in all Puranas as Naimisharanya, the forest of Naimisharanya. No questions, okay? He had arrived at Naimisharanya. When they saw him, a number of rishis stood up and welcomed him gladly. Naimisharanya is a forest where all great rishis lived. When they saw this person walking, suspense who, they all stood up and welcomed him gladly. They offered arghya and padya, which means they washed his feet, they offered him a seat, and so on. Making sure that he was feeling fresh after his long trek, they spoke to him in humble tones. Am I clear to all? Shaunaka, the leader of the group, stood with folded palms and said, "Our hermitage is honored by the visit of the great Ugrashravasa, the son of some music is on. Next door. Good background. So they stood up with Shaunaka stood up, the rishi, with folded hands and said, "Our hermitage is honored by the visit of the great Ugrashravas, the son of Romaharshana." Who is this? Vyasa was your father's guru, and from that great seer, Vyasa, your father has learnt all the Puranas. As for you, you are famed as the Sutta Pauranika, which means one who teaches the Puranas, Sutta Pauranika. And we are all eager to sit at your feet and listen to the many stories which you know so well. Please tell us all the stories, recount all the stories. So I am here going to play the role of a Sutta, tell you all the stories. Sutta smiled at them and said, "I heard, when we came here, I didn't know that we had a background music going on." So, today, some marriage is on. So please tell us all those stories. Sutta smiled at them and said, "I heard that you were set on performing the Brahma Satra, a yajna, which should last for 1,000 years. Sutta smiled and said, "I heard that you were performing a great yajna, a sacrifice, which would last for 1,000 years. Dwapara, the third quarter of time, has passed and Kali Yuga has set in. With the advent of Kali, Kali is the division of time. After Krishna's disappearance from the world, it's called Kali Yuga. If somebody has told you that Kali Yuga is something else, don't believe it. So, with the advent of Kali, the earth has become the home of adharma. Adharma means untruth, injustice, and all the many sins which are attendants of Kali Yuga. In this particular phase of life, all these things happen. So are we in Kali Yuga now? Yes. Injustice, untruth, all happening. We are still in Kali Yuga. Somebody says this is the golden age, I would be shocked. This holy spot, I know, cannot be touched by Kali. He is personifying the period called Kali Yuga, saying this particular place, Naimisharanya, cannot be touched by Kali. This holy spot is where I came. Tell me, what can I do for you? And I will do my best to please you. Sutta is saying, not me, okay? It is the state of the earth ridden with Kali that has made us dread the future. Said Saunaka. Man, here when you say man, please understand, human being is no longer assured of his 100 years of life. His physical well-being is threatened by many ills. His mind is clouded by kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada and matsarya. Now, we think that now in this period we are leading a very long life, thanks to medical science and so on and so forth. The Bhagavad is complaining that this Kali Yuga is a time when human beings can't live for more than 100 years, and that the health is bad and so on and so forth. So before this yuga, which means human beings could live longer, now it has already been reduced. A few people you hear who live 100 years, and then we celebrate it because it's rare. So this is the sign of Kali Yuga, that you cannot live for more than when you say 100 years, I mean not a long life. And there are diseases all the time which need to be handled. And apart from that, the mind, diseases for the body, right? The mind has some other disease. Kama, inordinate desire. We all burn with this inordinate desire. Because of inordinate desire, very often we fall into a deep pit, not realizing, and then you're entangled and you cannot come out. Then, krodha, anger. Kama, desire, is the reason for krodha anyway. Because if I desire somebody, not you, I mean here, and if there's a third person also desiring the same person, then I'm angry with that person. The root of anger is also kama, desire. Lobha. You know what is lobha? Pride. Pride goes before a fall. Mada. And matsarya, competition. I want to be always better than him. Not in a good way, could be a bad way also. Suppose somebody is a great gangster, I want to be a bigger gangster than he is. Matsarya. These are the 6 arch enemies of man. These in turn, please, we'll come to the story. This guy is trying to explain something. These in turn are attended by smaller evils. man's intellect is then clouded by ignorance. If he has to emerge out of this illusion called Maya, if he has to save his soul from this sinful life on earth, he will have to study the Dharma Shastras, the Puranas and the Vedas. But the human being of today has neither the time nor the inclination to study what is good for him. I'm wondering how you all took so much time out for 7 days to attend this. It's indeed a great thing that you did this, because nobody has time for these things. Please, therefore, let us know about a single work, Kavasya, one single work, great work, a single poem, studying which man can become pure and good and be freed from the bondage of karma. So please tell us, anyone, we don't want you to say, oh, this is good, that is good. No, one book where we can free ourselves from this dread disease that has affected mankind. Please suggest to us. Krishna, the incarnation of Lord Narayana, was on earth during Dwapara Yuga. Dwapara is the time before Kali Yuga. In fact, Kali Yuga starts just after Krishna's demise. He left us and went away, and with him went all the dharma and righteousness. People are groping in the darkness called ignorance. It is up to you, my Lord, to tell us where dharma has found refuge after the disappearance of Krishna. Dwapara Yuga ended when Krishna left. Dharma has left. There must be some place where dharma has taken refuge, hiding somewhere. Please tell us where this is. Ugrashravas was pleased with this question. He smiled at them and said, I can tell you where righteousness has found refuge after Krishna left the earth. The sun has risen. The sun which will dispel the inner darkness in the mind of man during Kali Yuga. That sun is the great Bhagavata Purana, composed by the seer Veda Vyasa. The Bhagavad tells you the story of the Lord. So the assumption is, after 7 days of listening to the Bhagavad, everybody gets up from this hall and is free in moksha. I mean, this is the expectation, maybe too high. So, the Bhagavad tells you the story of the Lord and the many avatars he took to establish dharma on this earth. He is the infinite. Who? The Supreme. He is the infinite, the incomprehensible, not bound by anything, nor by the chain of cause and effect, which makes us live through janma after janma in an endless cycle, janma after janma, life after life. He is beyond all this. I would rather say, instead of saying he, it is beyond all this. But man is not good enough to realize this. He can only see through human eyes, perceive only through the sense organs, grasp things only through human intellect. We approach him with the eyes of man born of a woman. We ascribe to him qualities which we have. and try to gauge him by our standards. Knowing all this, the Lord in His infinite kindness has in the past assumed forms of living beings so that we could see Him. Out of kindness, not because of any compulsion. Through these descents into the world of men, the Lord has helped one again and again. He has established dharma wherever there was threat that it's being eclipsed. Contemplating on the absolute supreme being will not be possible for man today, ridden as one is by so many imperfections. But even the worst person can be saved if he listens to the stories of the Lord in His many manifestations. The Bhagavata is exactly that. The path to the Lord is devotion, Bhakti Marga. It's a matter of the heart. It is Bhakti which we see as the golden thread running through all the different manifestations of the Lord. The Bhagavata is a string of beads which, like a japamala, rosary, helps you to realize the Lord and reach Him. Vyasa composed the Purana as his last contribution for the good of the world. Now I will tell you how it came about. How was the Bhagavat composed? Another story. The river Saraswati, it's almost disappeared now. You can hardly see the Saraswati anywhere. The river Saraswati was flowing placidly. On the banks of the river was the ashrama of Vyasa. It was evening time and he was sitting on the sands gazing at the ripples in the river with unseeing eyes. His eyes were sad and his face was troubled. Some deep pain was mirrored in his thoughtful eyes, and so he sat for a long time. The silence around him was broken by the twanging of the strings of the veena. Sweet notes fell on his ears. You know what happens when such people are in a dilemma, or they are sitting down quietly and meditating. When they hear the sound of the veena, you know who's coming. The Purana. A character called Narada, who is famous in the Puranas as the guy who comes and drops one seed of dissidence, and then the whole thing becomes a big story and drama, and then he says, Narayana, Narayana, go wrong. This is his job. That's why when there are people who gossip a lot and create problems, they say, don't behave like Narad. No? So, but it's for the larger good. As far as Narada is concerned, not us. So, while Vyasa sat looking at the river, sad, nobody knows why he is sad. He has finished writing the great Brahma Sutra, Mahabharata, everything. He hears the sound of the veena, twang, and then he hears Narayana, Narayana. Vyasa looked up with an eager face and found the young sage Narada coming towards him, always young. Vyasa got up in a flurry, welcomed the divine Rishi and made him take a seat of honor. He then sat at his feet, at the feet of the young Rishi, who was considered to be the son of Brahma. Now please understand, you don't have to believe everything that is being, but please listen to it as a story at least. Don't suddenly, how could Narada descend from the sky? The whole thread is lost. How could Harry Potter conjure up a house? with a wand. So, for the time being, suspend all that. Just listen to the story, okay? So, he saw Narada, the son of Brahma, whose mode of transport is flying in the air. So he descended. Narada smiled at Vyasa and said, I hope all is well with you. I hope that sickness and disease do not bother you. I am confident that your mind, clear like a pond, is without agitations. You ought to be happy since you have composed the great poem, Mahabharata, which is a storehouse of knowledge and all the rules of conduct. It is indeed a great achievement, and the world of men will benefit by your work. First praise before you start. As for you, learned as you are in the Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, I think you should be without any sorrow. But I see you so sad. He paused for a while, and Vyasa sat silent without uttering a word. Narada spoke again. He said, it seems to me as though you're not looking happy. Now you're talking to Veda Vyasa, so you have to be careful of your words. What are you saying? So even the great Narada says, it looks like you're sad to me. You seem to me like one who has not achieved what he wanted to. You seem to be like one who has not achieved what he wanted to. You've done so much, and yet to you, I think, seems inadequate. What is worrying you? What makes you unhappy? Vyasa said, what you say is perfectly true. And you are the only person who can clear my doubts. You are wise. You are the son of Brahma. You are ever lost in praising the glories of the Lord, Narayana. And it seems to me there is nothing which is beyond your intellect. You are like the sun which sees all the three worlds. With the power of your yoga, you can, like the air, enter into human beings and know what is hidden in their minds. So you must be knowing the reason why I am despondent. Who Vyasa says to Narada. Long ago, I was once absorbed in meditation. In my mind's eye, I saw the future of the world. I saw the deterioration of dharma. I saw the nature of man undergoing a change for the worse. I saw the gradual and withdrawal of the glory that had been the heritage all these years. And I was filled with infinite pity for the generations of men that are to be born in Kali Yuga. Therefore, I resolved to help them in their distress. I edited the Vedas. I divided it into 4 parts. And these 4 parts are the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda, and so on. These 4 were taught to my disciples. Paila taught the Rig, Jaimini taught the Sama, Vaishampayana, who was the only one who could master the Yajurveda, and Sumantu became proficient in Atharva Veda. Then to Roma Harshana, I taught the 17 Puranas and the Itihasas. These disciples of mine have divided the Vedas further and taught them to the disciples in the turn. Then I found I had not done enough. I realized that those who cannot study the Vedas, those who are not allowed to do so, should also be saved. So I composed the poem by name Mahabharata, wherein all the lessons of the Vedas are taught in the course of the narration of the story. Please remember, the Bhagavad Gita is a part of the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata. So, I had hoped that humanity will benefit by all this. And yet, my friend, I feel that my work does not grant me satisfaction. Or rather, I have not the peace, the state of tranquility that should be mine by right if I have done the right thing. Tell me what I have left undone. There must be something missing. What is it that will grant me peace? Please tell me. I am sorely distressed by this unrest inside me. Narada said, Narayana, Narayana. With a slight smile, lighting up his young face, Narada said, I know the reason. I know it. You've not done enough. Not done enough, said Vyasa with dismay. I have tried to do all that I possibly could. I have set down all that I thought was essential for the well-being of man, for his walking in the path of righteousness. What else is left, tell me? I still maintain, said Narada, that you have not done enough. There is still something which you have to achieve before you attain peace. You have done a great service to humanity by composing the Mahabharata. Okay, agreed. There is no doubt about it. There is one drawback in that work. Vyasa the Great was listening to him as a student would. This is the difference between Vyasa and us. Vyasa is indeed a doyen of all literature and intellectual understanding. Now he is sitting before Narada listening like a student. A drawback in the Mahabharata, he was eager to know. He said, if so, how can I rectify it? I am eager and impatient to know. Narada said, you were interested in the welfare of the world by relating the story of the Pandavas. You have taught the lesson that righteousness will conquer in the end. And that where Krishna is, on whose side Krishna is, there will be found a dharma. All right. This is the lesson, there is no doubt that people will learn. But you have throughout the epic laid stress on the duties of man, on his dharma, on his performing them selflessly. The Bhagavad Gita and all other discourses on dharma lay stress on karma yoga, as you call it, action. But my friend, you have not sung the praises of the Lord as much as you have ought to have. That you haven't done. Yeah, in the narrative of the Mahabharata, somebody sings the glories of the Lord, but you have not done much there. Know you not, don't you know, that the easiest path to the Lord is the path of devotion, bhakti. All other yogas are harder paths, which of course lead to the feet of the Lord in a long time. The praises of Narayana, Narayana here meaning the Supreme Being, even if they are couched in wrong words, even if they are sung out of tune, will assure man of the grace of the Lord. Like a piece of arni. You know what is an arni? In the olden days there were no matchboxes. Today we don't know, just is on. Arni is the dry piece of wood on which another dry piece of wood is rubbed so that a spark is created and the fire is lit. That was the old mode of lighting a fire. So, like a piece of arni, which when churned will give forth smoke first and later fire, which will then consume the wood itself. Even so, the mind of a human being, when churned by constant devotion to the Lord, will make all evil come to the surface and disappear. The true sattvic nature of a human being will then blaze forth, and like fire will consume the bondage of karma and grant salvation forever and ever. The Mahabharata was to you a play. Your attitude was objective. You entered into everyone's characters. You were therefore thinking good thoughts as well as evil thoughts while in the process of portraying them. Incidentally, not deliberately, incidentally the Lord was praised. There was no single-mindedness about your devotion to the Lord because your mind was spread out on all the characters of the Mahabharata. Now you must try to make up for this omission. Now sing the praises of Narayana. Relate to the world about his Vishwarupa, universal form, his Virata Rupa, greater form, his Vibhutis, meaning his Vibhuti is what? His powers, his avataras, his manifestations, and I assure you, it will grant you the peace that you are seeking. Unveil to the world the secret behind the avataras. Tell them why the Lord, who is beyond the opposites, who has his abode in Ananta. Ananta also means unendingness. Who is Purusha, the life giver for this entire universe? Why should he take a form and a name and a birth and become like one of us? Explain that. This is a little bit tricky. I wish Vyasa taught me how to fix this. He should take a form and a name and a birth and become like one of us. Why? He should appear to be infused with one of the three gunas which we have as human beings and human emotions. Praise every avatar of the Lord. Let nothing come from your lips except praise describing the glory of the Narayana. And then you will find peace. Drive home to the world of men this lesson. If one fails in his duties, which are ascribed by the Vedas and by the elders, even if he is a sinner who has transgressed all rules of conduct, still, if in his heart there is a spring of love, devotion to the Lord, that will wash away all his sins white and he will be dear to him. Remember, my friend, you yourself are an avatar of Narayana, Vyasa. You have been born into this world for the benefit of mankind, and yet you allow emotions to delude you. Remember who you are. Wake up from the sleep which makes you forget your real nature. Relate to everyone the many avatars, manifestations of Narayana, and the purpose behind each of them. Sing the praises of Narayana again and again and again. You will then have reached the goal for which you have been striving, which is peace. Now, third chapter. Now we talked about this Narada, right? The one who is considered the son of Brahma, who moves around in the sky with a veena. And then he looks down and says, somebody has come from Dallas, and descends with the veena and says, Narayana, Narayana. This Narada, who was this Narada? The Bhagavad is interesting. Story inside a story inside a story. It's like opening up a fruit and looking for where is the core of this? Now comes the previous birth of Narada. He is known as the son of Brahma now. I like the posture of that Krishna, there. Like this, ready, like a wrestler. They were sitting silent for a while. Who was sitting? Narada and Vyasa. The only sound was the music made by the waves of Saraswati as she flowed, and the hypnotic drone of the veena strings which Narada was plucking. Suddenly he smiled at Vyasa and said, you will be interested to know how I was saved from the bondage of karma because of Narayan. You may not be aware of my previous birth. There was a look of amazement on the face of Vyasa. He said, previous birth? But my friend, you are the son of Brahma. How can you have a previous birth? How could you have a previous birth? Now you have kindled my curiosity. Please tell me about it. I am talking of a previous kalpa, said Narada, with a reminiscent look on his eyes. Kalpa means when the yugas disappear, yugas are put together, they are called kalpa, long spread of time. And then again the yugas come. Mahapralaya, the great destruction, everything disappears. Kalpa is gone, and then the next thing comes. It's a cyclical movement. Nobody is sitting in a workshop and doing this. It's a cycle. If you read Kapila's Sankhya, you will know how the cycle, one cycle moves, another comes. Every hill shall be brought low, and every valley shall be filled, and so on. So, I'm talking of a previous kalpa, said Narada, with a reminiscent look on his eyes. There was a Shudra woman who was working in the ashrama of the rishis, which means a woman who was a laborer working in the ashrama of the rishis. She was washing the plates, cleaning the plates, looking after them, laundry, using the dry cleaners, whatever. Washing machine. Somebody defined a dhobi in India as a person attempting to break stones with a cloth. So, he was doing all that. So, and who was she serving? The rishis. Once during the rainy season, a group of sages came to the ashrama where my mother was a servant. They were to spend 4 months there. During the rainy season, the sadhus who incessantly wander have to stop because of the rains during the monsoon. 4 months of rain, so it's called Chaturmasya. Chatur means 4. I suddenly thought some insect was sitting here. Illusion. So, it was Chaturmasya, so they stopped for 4 months. I was a youngster of 5. And to me, my mother assigned the duty of attending to their wants. I served them all the time. But I was a peculiar child. I was not like the others. I was fond of childish pranks and games, and I was quiet and not given to much talking. Sorry, I was not fond of childish pranks and games, and I was quiet and not given to much talking. The sages who were there, the rishis, became quite fond of me. So, if a rishi has to become fond of you, here is the formula. No childish pranks, no games, be quiet and don't talk too much. Even the words I spoke were indistinct because I was still a child. The sages who were there became quite fond of me. They took pity on me and let me stay with them all the time. I think they were sorry for me. Such is the power of the devotees of the Lord. These rishis would spend all their time singing the praises of Narayana, and I became engrossed in the stories which they recounted, and I became attracted to this Narayana. Who is this Narayana? The songs which spoke of the greatness of him made me think of him, and to me nothing else seemed to matter. So, day and night I was thinking only of him. I came to realize that I was something beyond Maya, the illusion which make me feel that the body is real. I had learned so much all because of the Hari Kirtana, which I was hearing constantly from the rishis. The Rajoguna and the Tamoguna. Now, Rajoguna is the tendency of the mind to be active, to be always moving. You know, some people who can't sit quiet, even if they sit quietly, their knees will be going like that. Or if they're sitting quietly, they'll be twiddling with their toes. It's difficult to sit quiet. So, I came to realize that the body is not real. I learned so much because of the Hari Kirtana, which I was hearing constantly. Rajoguna, or that propensity of the mind to keep always engaged. And Tamoguna, which propensity of the mind which is laziness. All were washed away. And in the meantime, the 4 months came to an end and the sages were ready to go. The Chaturmasya was over. They looked on me, who was standing there, tears flowing from my eyes. They knew that I was a fit disciple, and in their infinite kindness, they taught me the secret of realizing the truth. They taught me that the dedication of all one's actions to the Brahman could cure one of all the imperfections. All the actions that we perform in this world can, however, be performed without any desire, with a dedicated frame of mind, and that will make one break the bonds of Maya. Knowledge of the Brahman wedded to the path of devotion will help one to perform actions dedicated to the Lord. Soon, very soon, the conditioned Atman will find freedom from the coils and become one with the infinite. That was the lesson that I learned from them. Strangely enough, I discovered that the technique was quite simple. Men who perform when I say men, please, human beings, I wish I could rewrite the Bhagavad and wherever it says men, make it human beings. Men who perform action with the thought of the Lord in their minds will naturally think on Him all the time. If the action is performed with the words before any action, salutations to you, Lord of Lords, I worship you, calling you by the names Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Niruddha, Sankarshana, that will be the path of moksha, freedom from bondage of karma. This was a great lesson taught to me by the sages. The Lord was compassionate, and He instilled in my mind the thought that He was the only one truth, the rest was all illusion. Sages went away. Oh, now he's left to fend for himself. The sages are left. He cried for a while, but they went anyway. I was left alone. Now I had a mother, as I told you. She was a servant. She didn't know any of this. And she was immensely attached to me, her only child. I knew how foolish it was to love like that. But it was not possible for me to leave her and go away, because she was my mother after all. I was with her in the ashrama where she worked and waited for the grace of God. The world, my friend, says Narada, is under the sway of the Supreme Being, and His ways are inscrutable. We see what is happening, but we lose sight of the fact that someone else is responsible for all that is happening in this world. The actions of men are like those of a puppet. It seems to move of its own accord, but it is not so. It has to move the way the strings are pulled. And the strings are pulled by an expert who is not seen by us. One night, now, how long is this session? We have 30 minutes more. This session. And then we have a small break and we come back again. So please, you have to sit through 6 hours every day. I have to anyway. So this is the starting session, 3 hours. Tomorrow onwards, morning 3, evening 3, morning 3. So please come prepared for that. I will continue because I enjoy it. I want you to enjoy it. So one night, my mother was proceeding towards the cow shed to milk the cow belonging to the ashrama. It was twilight. Even that light was fading rapidly. My poor mother was bitten by a snake, which was lying in her path, and she died on the spot. Now what would happen normally? Curse be to the rishis, my mother is dead, the snake is bitten. No, that was not Narada's response. What did Narada, the young Narada, do? Strangely enough, I did not feel too unhappy, since I knew that this was also the Lord's doing. That He had so engineered this that I would get my freedom. My mother was a bandhan, was a limitation, which was an attachment. Now I was free of it. I left the ashram and proceeded towards the north. I traveled through many countries and many forests and reached New York. No, many forests. I crossed rivers which were beautiful. The forests were full of flowering trees which had their branches broken by wild elephants. I saw mountains gleaming golden and silvery because of the minerals which were hidden in the rocks. I saw lakes which were noisy with the sounds of bees which were murmuring all the while. I passed fearful bamboo forests and to my ears came the noise made by the roaring of wild animals and the howling of jackals and the mournful hooting of the night owl. I was exhausted and my limbs were aching. My throat was parched and I was hungry. I went towards the river, washed myself, and drank my fill of the sweet water. I then sat under an immense peepal tree. You know what's a peepal tree? Buddha sat under the peepal tree, Ashwatha. I assumed the posture which the sages had taught me and concentrated my mind in the form of the Lord which they had described. I sat there absorbed in meditation. In my mind's eye, I saw the form of Narayana slowly taking shape. I saw him and my body trembled in ecstasy. Tears flowed incessantly. My entire being was flooded with joy. A moment of this ecstasy and then it vanished. It was there no more. This is the funny trick of the Lord. Come, show your little finger and disappear. A moment of ecstasy and it vanished. It was there no more. I was plunged in misery and I was aroused from my meditation. We all know this happens to everybody in some way. I tried again to sit, but I could not concentrate. The form would not come back to my mind. I was one like demented. All of a sudden, I heard a voice speak to me. It was a loving, comforting, beautiful voice. And it said, "My child, you will not be able to see me again in this birth of yours. Unless and until you shed this form born of desires, you cannot reach me. This momentary vision of my form was to assure you that you will reach me in the end. That I am there, not that I am not there. Having seen me once, no one can think of anything else or have any other desire in mind. Even at this young age, you have, by your association with the sages, learned to love me and only me. Love for me will banish all other forms of love in your mind. So therefore, shed this body and come to me. Be by my side always. This love that you have for me will not wane even after the pralaya, when everything is destroyed. You are dear to me." And the voice was heard no more. Since then, I spent all my time singing the praises of Narayana and went from place to place. I had no desires and I was content with my lot in life. I was waiting for the time when I could shed the human form which kept me in bondage like a prisoner. Days passed. Years passed. In course of time, death came to me. How did death come? It was a streak of lightning, deceptively like a garland of light. The body made of elements fell to the earth, and I traveled towards the ocean where Narayana was sleeping. I entered into Brahma along with his breath. After 4 yugas had passed, when Brahma again began to manifest the world, I was born as his son along with Marichi and others. Now, by the grace of the Lord, I travel all over the universe, Singing is glorious. The Devas, the celestials, gave me this veena by name Mahati. And with this, to accompany my songs, I go about singing. I am free. When I sing the form of Narayana, the form of Narayana comes to my mind at once, as though he has been summoned by me. I'm happy. Let me repeat what I said before. Karma Yoga, which you have taught in the Mahabharata, Jnana Yoga, which you have taught in the Upanishad, and the Karma Kanda you have described in the Vedas, not one of them will grant man so easily, yes, possible, difficult, so easily, the peace and tranquility which devotion gives. So, dear friend, let your compassion be the raft which will save men floundering in the ocean of pain, frustration and desire. Narada went away from the presence of Vyasa. Long after he had gone, the drone of his veena could be heard, and the great poet sat for a while pondering on the words of Narayana. Vyasa closed his eyes and went into a deep trance. He saw in his mind's eye the great events of the past. He saw Narayana resting on Ananta. He saw the beginnings of creation. He saw the birth of the worlds. He saw the vibhuti of the Lord and happenings during many kalpas. Vyasa then composed the great Bhagavata Purana. He taught this great poem to his son Sukadeva, and Sukha propagated it in the world of human beings. You can title the next chapter The End, which was the beginning. It was the last day of the great war on the field of Kurukshetra. I think many of you are aware that there was a battle of Kurukshetra. The Pandavas won. It was the last day of the great war on the field of Kurukshetra. Not yet over. The sun had set long ago. Near Samanta Panchaka lay the Kaurava monarch Duryodhana with his thigh broken by Bhima. He was dying, and to his presence came Ashwatthama, the son of Drona. Now let me explain, because unfortunately we don't know these things. Dronacharya, was the teacher of both the Pandavas and the Kauravas. He was not a warrior, he was not a Kshatriya, he was a Brahmana. And yet he was an expert in all the missiles. He was a missile man. He knew how to adjust what is nuclear, what is non, he knew everything. So Drona was the teacher of both Pandavas and Kauravas in the battle. Drona's son was Ashwatthama. Now when Duryodhana, who led the Kauravas into battle, was lying down dying with his leg broken by one of the Pandavas who was called Bhima, he was dying in great pain. So Ashwatthama came. Now Ashwatthama, during the Kurukshetra war, had sided with the Kauravas, not with the Pandavas. Even Drona was on the other side. And yet they won the battle. Why? How? Because this mischievous Krishna was with them. So they won. It's interesting, before the war starts, Krishna is lying in his bedroom, in the bed. and there is only one chair kept near the bed, near the head. Now battle is about to start, so Duryodhana decides to talk to Krishna. First of all, he knows that he is not ordinary, there's something different, and there's a good charioteer and so on. So he goes to see him, and Krishna is sleeping or pretending to sleep with his eyes closed. And there is one chair at the back, right? So Duryodhana decides, this is for me. Ego. So he sits there. And then comes Arjuna. Already one chair is occupied. So where to stand? He stands near the feet. Krishna wakes up. Who do you see when you wake up? Somebody who stands near your feet. Right? So he says, Arjuna, what do you want? So Arjuna is showing signs. So he looks back. Oh, he says, Duryodhana. Yeah, what do you want? I want your army. I want all your weapons, all the armaments, horses, this, that. Big list. Arjuna is wondering, now what? He's going to, what is he going to say? Granted. Take it. Then he asks Arjuna, what do you want? He says, nothing is left. I want you. He says, so be it. Tathastu. So you know what happened in the war. Anyway, so Duryodhana is lying with his broken leg, dying in pain. And Ashwatthama, the son of the Guru, Drona, the teacher of all the archery and weapons and so on, comes. His anger knows no bounds when he sees how unjustly the king had been hit and his thigh has been broken. Ashwatthama takes an oath. What was the oath? He would avenge the killing of his king, Duryodhana, by destroying all the Pandavas. Please remember, he is the son of the missile man. He decides, I will annihilate them. Because the entire Kaurava army has already been annihilated. Only 3 are alive, barring Duryodhana, the dying king, Kripa, Kritavarma, the son of Hardika, and Ashwatthama. Everybody else is finished. That night, when everyone was asleep, Ashwatthama hurried to the Pandava camp. He did not find the Pandavas, but their 5 sons were sleeping there. Dhishtamna and his brothers were in the camp too. The angry Brahman, Drona, killed them all. The 5 sons of Draupadi and all her brothers. He then set fire to the camp and went away. The king, when he was told about it, was not happy because the act of his friend was too terrible. Early in the morning, the news reached the Pandavas. Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas, was horror-stricken. In one night, she had lost all her sons and all her brothers. She saw their dead forms and her voice was harsh with pain. Seeing her tear-stained face and anguished eyes, Arjuna tried to comfort her. Arjuna has always been a peaceful man. He said, my queen, you will not weep for long. I shall avenge the death of the children. I will bring that fellow's head to you, Ashwatthama's. But remember, he is Arjuna's Guru's son. He will not be able to escape me and the arrows from my Gandhiva, which his father taught me how to use. I will seek him out and finish him. So Arjuna hurried to his chariot. Krishna was once again his charioteer. They saw Ashwatthama running fast to escape from Arjuna. Seeing the angry cloud on Arjuna's brow, the son of Drona tried to run as fast as he could. But Arjuna was like an avenging fury, and Ashwatthama could do nothing. His horses were not fast enough to carry him. In despair, he thought of saving his life by using the great weapon, Astra, called the Brahma Shirsha. Now this Brahma Shirsha Astra is something to do with electricity, because he touched the water first. And after, I think that Brahma Shirsha touched the water, and after invoking the Astra, he spoke the words, "Let the world be Pandava-less," and sent it towards Arjuna. The skies were filled with the glow and the heat of the Astra. In fact, it's a nice background. It's like, although it's like that. The skies were filled with the glow and the heat of the Astra. A fear came over Arjuna, and he said, "Krishna, what is happening? Why is my frame burning?" Must have been a nuclear missile, because you know what happened, the whole body burns and so on. You saw Hiroshima, Nagasaki. No? Arjuna said, "What is happening, Krishna? My whole body is burning. I feel that dreadful fire is traveling towards me, and I do not know what it is that I can do to escape. Tell me what to do." With a grim look on his face, Krishna said, "Arjuna, the son of your Guru has thought it fit to hurl the great Brahma Shirsha at you. Now do not look horrified. I know that Drona has told you how terrible it is. Your teacher, Guru Drona, must have told you how terrible it is. But don't get, and I dare say he's told the same thing to his son. But Ashwatthama evidently has no thought of the consequences of Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Of the dastardly act. Apparently, he desires to destroy the entire world. So make up your mind so. Now you have also to invoke the same Astra. This is the only way you can quench the fury of this approaching fire." Arjuna saluted the presiding deity of the Astra and invoked it. When the two fires were traveling towards each other, it seemed like the end of the world had come. The rishis from the higher spheres hurried towards the spot and said, "Withdraw the Astra, both of you, or else the world will be destroyed. The two fires shall not meet. Avert the calamity." Arjuna obeyed them immediately and withdrew his Astra. Ashwatthama could not. Why? When he learned the technique of invoking from his father, he had been warned about the dreadful power of the Astra. Not bothering to remember the warning, he had sent it against Arjuna. The sins he had committed had robbed him of his purity and his Brahmanic tejas, and even he was powerless against his own Astra. It's like a word said in anger, A word said in anger has such tremendous effects that afterwards you can do nothing about it. It's already unleashed. Disastrous consequences. Similar. Not similar, more than that. So what did he do? He was powerless against his own Astra, weapon. Lest it should consume him, it has to go somewhere. He diverted it and aimed it at all the unborn children of the Pandavas. Even the children who were in the womb of the Pandava mothers, Astra was sent there because he thought otherwise I'll have to burn. His thought was, let's make the world Pandava less. Something you should always think of. Nobody can make the world anything less. Because it's the Lord who decides whether the world should be without somebody or not. We cannot decide. After withdrawing the Astra, Arjuna has withdrawn it. Arjuna rushed towards Ashwatthama. Now that the Astra is gone, Ashwatthama is also powerless. He is enlisted. He tied him with a rope. Nicely. And dragged him. Now what I am going to say is a controversial subject, but it's in the Bhagavad, so I am going to read it, okay? It's a little controversial. Not little, very controversial. Tying him up with a rope, Arjuna dragged Ashwatthama like a cow meant for sacrifice. Bhagavad said it, I didn't say. Krishna's eyes were spitting fire. Krishna's eyes were spitting fire. Ordinary people spitting fire would be terrible. Krishna spitting fire. He said, Arjuna, this is the man who has committed the gravest of sins, killing of children while they were sleeping. It is not right that you should have mercy on him. You must kill him without a qualm. Because Arjuna is prone to say, he is my Guru's father, poor fellow, let him go. Krishna said, no, this is not possible. A heinous crime has been done. Unborn children in the womb have been destroyed. You must finish him off. I do not have to remind you of the rules of fighting. This is an age when there were some rules in fighting, not now. All rules have disappeared. What are the rules of fighting? A man well versed in those rules of war will not kill an enemy who is drunk, who is careless about his safety, who has lost his wits, who is not trying to fight back, who is sleeping, who has fallen at your feet and asked for mercy, who is defeated and who is frightened. But the sinner who saves himself by killing ruthlessly thousands of other lives can only be punished by death. And again, Arjuna, have you forgotten your promise so soon? I was listening when you told Draupadi. Now the thing is, in actual setting, Krishna was nowhere there when Arjuna was talking to Draupadi. Which means this Krishna in the Bhagavad is a character who listens to everything that goes on, whether he is there. I was there when you told Draupadi. What did you tell her? I will lay at your feet the head of the man who killed your son. Did you say that? You swore to do it. Why do you delay it? Finish him off. Arjuna could not do so. In spite of the great provocation, he remembered that Ashwatthama was an old playmate of his, that he was the son of his Guru, who had taught him everything. Drona had loved Arjuna even more than he loved Ashwatthama. Arjuna was unwilling to kill the son of his Guru, who was like a brother to him. Talking of past times, okay. He took him to the presence of Draupadi and the other Pandavas And he said, "Look, my queen, look at this sinner who is standing before you. His eyes are bent on the ground since he dare not look you in the face. Tell me, what should I do to him?" "I'll do it. You tell me." Draupadi's grief at the loss of her children could ever be fresh in her mind. Also the fact that Ashwatthama killed them, but her anger had abated. Do we find such good people now, such women? I hope so. Her anger had abated. She was overcome with compassion for him, and she said, "Arjuna, please release him at once from these coils. I cannot bear to see the son of your Guru bound like this. Drona was the Guru who taught you everything with weapons, and his son is a brother to you. That pious woman Kripi has not joined her Lord on the funeral pyre because her son is alive. If you kill him now, she will suffer the pain of losing her only child. I do not want her to suffer like me. Let him go. Please release Ashwatthama." Not easy. Yudhishthira, Arjuna, as well as all the twins were pleased with the words of the queen. There was only one guy who was very upset, still grumbling. Bhima was the one whose anger had not evaporated at the sight of Ashwatthama. He kept saying, "Kill him, kill him, kill him." Krishna smiled, and Krishna is first he said, "Kill." Then he says, "I'm not killing, he's still smiling. Krishna smiled and said, "Arjuna, you are caught on the horns of a dilemma. Either you displease Draupadi and others, killing Ashwatthama, or you incur the wrath of your beloved brother Bhima by letting him go. Do what you think is fit under the circumstances. Try and see how you can please all of them." Arjuna looked at all of them. Krishna, usual posture, standing with his arms locked together across his chest, and there was an inscrutable expression on his face. Yudhishthira and others were looking sad and uncomfortable. Bhima was glowing angrily at the prisoner. After a long moment, Arjun thought that he understood what Krishna was trying to tell him. He took up his sword and cut off the jewel on the head of Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama had, Brahmins always wear a kudmi. On top of that was a jewel. Arjuna took his sword and cut the hair bun and the jewel out, cutting off the hair of a Brahmin, taking away the wealth that belongs to him, and ordering him to leave your presence. Each one of them is like killing a Brahmin. Arjuna had done it. To Ashwatthama, who was zealous of his honor, this treatment of Arjuna was worse than death. But he escaped. With his eyes bent on the ground, he dragged his steps away from the presence of the Pandavas and went far from there. That's why they say that since nobody knows in the Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, anywhere, that Ashwatthama was ever killed or whether he died, that his Chiranjeevi is existing still somewhere doing something. People say that, So anyway, this is the story. So it's 5:35. We have a small break and then I start again. The next, we are reading the Uttarayana.